Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to call this my opening act to Jean because she's the real star here today. First, I have to thank Anne for the story about the cross because I'm calling it a God wink this morning. This is physically my favorite part of this church. So the fact that she shared that story today was just really, really special. I actually had a moment with Pastor Brian at the Fitchburg Church because we collab for the teen group. And it was my first time at that church. And I was like, this is a nice church. There's no stained glass. We're going home. I said, I'm a sucker for stained glass. And he was like, are you? I know, it's remarkable. So that playlist I talked about that I made, this is the cover for that. But I digress. So we talked about Befrienders, right? Why did you join Befrienders? My why is very long, but I got a very real dose of God working in my life the last week of May. For those of you who may have heard me talk about, I'm Lisa Schweitzer, by the way. Did I say that already? I think most of you know me. But I have been helping my goddaughter plan her, what we have affectionately called her princess wedding. She's been a princess her whole life, right? Other than the young lady that I grew, she is by far my closest and dearest human. And she asked me, I thought I was well retired, but she asked me to be her matron of honor. Okay, got it. So not only do I get to be aside one of my favorite humans, but I get to do really big things like plan a bridal shower for 45 people. So May 28th, we're supposed to go to Befrienders, supposed to be a quiet day after work, right? So I placed a Walmart order for literally, my husband knows where this is going. There was great panic involved. So I placed this Walmart order. I am talking random items, people. The bumblebee that needed to go in the plant to go as a shower gift. Pizza sauce to be made for Friday's dinner. Odds and ends, right? Less than $40. I get the alert. Your Walmart order has been delivered. I open my front door. I can't even open my front door because of the numerous bags of things that are on my front door that are not my things. There is no bumblebee. There is no pizza sauce. There are 3 gallons of milk. I actually wrote it all down because it's that ridiculous. 2 massive frozen bags of things of frozen sausage, hash browns, at least 20 bananas, 35 hard-boiled eggs. Okay, on and on and on. Like clearly someone was sponsoring her daughter or son's swim team in the morning, something. So in my moment of just get it done, I'm like, this is not what was supposed to happen. This is like, no, now I have more to do, right? The overwhelmed is like, and I'm also, mind you, 2 months ahead, going to be hosting a bachelorette party where we're sleeping over. And I'm already asking these young ladies in her bridal party to pay out to stay over. I'm feeling guilty about that because I know they don't make, not that I'm rolling in money, but they don't make what I make. So I wanted to really help with breakfast in the morning. Now I have more than enough hash browns to feed my flock of ladies, frozen bagels, but I also saw food that could spoil because I knew I hadn't quite connected that I was going to Befrienders in an hour yet, but I knew my church with heart had Miss Judy Tabor in the congregation. And I knew if I could get said food here on Sunday, it would be okay because we have always a donation basket for the McFarland Food Pantry. But I'm like, I'm going to church tonight. I can fix this tonight. And I knew, I don't see Lynn here today, but Lynn also does a lot for the seniors in her apartment complex. So my other thought was, I can help people in the complex. And I had, messaged my best friend, like, can you believe this? I'm on my phone with my godmother, who's the mother of my goddaughter. And she's like, honey, I hope you can figure out what to do with free food. And that was when I was like, okay, get it together. Because To me, but I also knew some people would just have found this as a massive inconvenience. If they weren't going to eat the food, they may have even just tossed it, which would have been really, really a huge loss. So I saved what I could freeze for my upcoming event. I gave a gallon of milk and a loaf of bread to the neighbor across the street who has two college-age sons that, go through food like it's a glass of water. And then I brought everything else to church. And God bless Diane for showing up at the same time as me because she was like, "What happened? What's going on?" Like she's always down for a good cause. She helped me carry everything in. And so I looked at our group, I'm sure totally befuzzled still, and I said, "Does anybody want bananas?" And they're like, "Why does this lady have 20 bananas?" So I shared the story. We all had a good laugh. And then I went home and I texted my best friend the whole, like, how I wrapped it up. And she said, "See, it got delivered to the right house after all." And that was, I think back to Brian's song, Dream God's Dream, and how everyone has enough to eat. And that has always been a passion point of mine so that I could, in that moment of like, oh man, I just got another thing on my to-do list. It was like my heart and my head connected into another gear of not only can I help, but I know directly how to help. And had I not been a part of the Befrienders, which I highly recommend you join fall 2025. Um, we wouldn't have had that, the first of all, good laugh and just decompress, bring it back to what it's all about. But I was able to get it. And obviously Judy appreciated it, but I very much appreciated she knew what to do and who needed it most. So thank you for listening to my story, and I'm going to hand it over to Beth Helen.
So I am very new to this church, like 5 months ago. And so when I first heard about Befrienders, like maybe 3 weeks after I was, coming to the church, I was like, yes, this is my church. And yes, I do want to do this. Because 17 years ago at my old church, there's a new ministry called Stephen's Ministry, which is very similar to Befrienders. And I was like, in the choir, I was actively involved. But my husband told me he like wanted nothing to do with God and nothing to do with faith. And I was just like, I don't know what to do with this. And I said something to my brother-in-law, and he was like, sounds like a Stephen minister might be really good for you. I was like, me? Like, I didn't think that was for me. But my Stephen minister walked with me for the next 5 months, and it was really, really a blessing in my life to have her in my life as just a consistent presence. And I knew that like Befriender sounded very similar. And I was like, I want to be a part of that. And I was like, serving is with other people is the best way to get connected. So I'm brand new, so I'm going to get to meet a whole bunch of new friends. Sounds good to me. So that was my reason for joining Befrienders, partially to get connected and partially because, yeah, I always walked with and I want to be able to walk with too. So if you have that response of me, could this, no, that's not for me. If you need somebody to come along beside, yeah, it is for you. So just want to share that. Thank you.
Well, this is really something, having all this in front of me. Are you recording? You are. Okay. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Our text from this morning is from Jeremiah 31:3. God told them, I have never quit loving you and never will. Expect love, love, and more love. When I was thinking about what message I wanted to share with you, I had a line from a song that kept repeating in my mind over and over again. I finally took it as a sign that that was what I was supposed to share with you today. That song, the title and first line from a song from Tina Turner is What's Love Got to Do with It? The rest of the song, maybe not so much, but that first line was a real grabber. How many times in your life have you really, really felt the overwhelming presence and love of God? This would be so profound that it would make you kind of sit up and take notice. What does it feel like? What's going on around you? Is it because of something joyous or possibly something sad? Do you feel God's love and presence? Can you describe it? I feel God's love most certainly when I'm going through a sad and emotional time, a very happy and joyous time, and sometimes when I feel a lot of love between me and someone else. I also think the older I get, the more I'm aware of it. There's a lot of comfort in that feeling of overwhelming love. I think the first momentous time I noticed the feeling of God's presence and love was when my father passed away. I never expected to be present at his passing, since my parents lived in Oshkosh and we were down here in McFarland. My dad, I think, had other ideas and waited for Rick and I to come up for a visit so Mom wouldn't be alone when he passed. As we stood around his bed in the nursing home, all holding hands, while their pastor said a prayer, I felt a presence in that room. I just couldn't explain it. When their pastor leaned down and told Dad, "It's okay, you can go," I couldn't believe how Dad immediately stopped breathing. My mother squeezed his hand and he took another breath. I could see this great love he had for Mom as he was trying to leave the physical world. Mom would squeeze his hand and he would take another breath. I kept repeating under my breath, "Go to God, go to God, go to God." This wonderful presence enveloped us all, and then Dad was gone. How do you explain something like this? Such a wonderful feeling during such a painful time. But there it was. There was so much love. Years later, my mother moved to McFarland just 6 weeks prior to her own passing. My daughter and I were fortunate to be with her as she passed at a grace after battling cancer. We shared precious last days with her and were there to encourage her on as she passed. I was so glad to share that moment and to be able to honestly tell Mom that it had been an honor to take care of her and that I loved her very much. This was a tender God moment for me, as Mom and I had had such a difficult relationship. But in the end, it was all love. So now I'd like to talk to you about my dear friend, Lavon. I got to know Lavon shortly after Rick and I got married. She and I both had kids in high school together. She was leading the youth group and was trying to raise money for their youth trip that they were going to take that year. I remember sitting down to talk with her one Sunday. I told her about some of the fundraising ideas that had been used by the youth group at the De Pere Presbyterian Church my kids and I had belonged to. She liked my ideas. Then, big surprise, she said, "Why don't you help out with the youth group fundraising?" So that's how I started getting involved at McFarland UCC. And she and I became fast friends. Lavon and I did things together both inside and outside of church. We were in Bible studies and we made and served church Easter breakfasts together. We did family fun nights and we worked the church trash and treasure sale together. We were on council together and we worked on the Christmas Day meal together. And we joked and laughed a lot. I loved that deep laugh of hers. It made me laugh all the harder. Many years ago, when our dear friend Ann Steich had a stroke, she and I would go over and visit her. Then we started taking her out to eat once a month. We had such a great time visiting and laughing. Little did we realize that we were already starting our Befrienders ministry even back then. Those times we shared were full of God's love. I sure felt it, and I bet Lavon did too. During COVID, she and I talked to each other on the phone periodically. I told her when I drove by her road to go get groceries at Metro Market, I would always yell out, "Hi, Lavon." She told me, "Did you hear me holler back?" Even after COVID, I kept saying, "Hi, Lavon," on our way to the store and "Bye, Lavon," on the way back. It gave me comfort knowing that my friend was just down the road. One Christmas time, I remember telling Lavon how awful it was when Rick and I had to spend Christmas Day all alone. No family came to celebrate with us, they all had other commitments. I told her it would be so wonderful to have a place to go for Christmas dinner with maybe other people that didn't have family to be with. I thought it would be so cool to do maybe a potluck. Well, that's how our Christmas meal idea got started. Lavon took the lead. After our first Christmas Day meal, Judy Tabor and I met with Lavon over coffee at the McFarland house. We wanted to go over our notes, how things went with the meal, and how we could improve it for next year. Once we were done talking, it really felt like a letdown that we wouldn't be spending more time together, as we had all gotten along so well and had just the best time. I suggested that we meet every week at Wednesday for coffee. And we did. We did start meeting each week, talking and sharing some pretty personal things with each other. There were tears sometimes too. Before parting, though, we always hugged each other and said, "I love you." God's love was sure present along with the love we felt for each other. I always went home with such warm, wonderful feelings. When it was decided a care team should be formed for our congregation, Lavon was asked to lead it. She told Salt, "Not without Jean's help." Voluntold, I believe that's called. When I decided to start a Befrienders class for our church, Lavon was the first to sign up, bless her heart. We supported each other every chance we could. She was so proud of the Befrienders and being a part of this group. God's presence was felt at each one of our classes as we listened and shared some very tender topics with each other. We all built very close relationships. When Denny Blackmore became sick, Lavon was so excited how our church members and the newly commissioned Befrienders quickly stepped up to help out with meals, sitting with Denny and the family, and then helping with the funeral. It made her so happy how we all worked together and with such love. Lavon made a special call to me when she got the list of volunteers for Jim Martin's funeral. She was just so pleased at how many of the Befrienders had signed up. Another God moment, and another affirmation that we were serving God and one another with all our hearts. Okay, speaking of sign-ups, let's talk about that clipboard. Let me tell you, she and that clipboard got things accomplished. She told me once when we were trying to get help for the trash and treasure sale, just stand by the church door with your clipboard, and as people come out, don't let them out until they've signed up. Dear Lavon, she sure knew how to get the job done. If you needed help making an announcement or getting a sign-up completed, Lavon was always willing to help you. In more recent years, she maybe couldn't help out physically as she once had, but she still could wield a clipboard with much grace. Lavon and I sat and talked the last Sunday Pastor Brian preached. We talked about the beautiful service, and then she said that she wanted to join the Befrienders when we did the devotions out at Charter Assisted Living on August 3rd. I sure wish she could have made it. I'm so grateful for our little coffee group that met the day after Lavon was admitted into the hospital, and again a few days later when we found out she had passed. We shared many tears and hugs and some stories of Lavon. We were so, so distraught. I really felt God's presence and overwhelming love lifting and filling us up. That next Sunday, when I had to get up and make that special announcement about Lavon's passing and that John Reed was in hospice care, was extremely hard. But I felt the love of this congregation and the love, and more love from God. I miss my friend a lot. Lavon was my first friend in McFarland. 2 days after her passing, I had to drive by her road where I normally said, "Hi, Lavon." That was so, so hard. You can bet I cried. But again, I felt God's love lifting me up and making me feel that it was going to be okay. Thank you, my dear Lavon, for being such a good friend to so many. Your love and care and service to our congregation is a real inspiration to us all and a true reflection of God's love. You've left some mighty big shoes to fill. So what's love got to do with it? I'd say just about everything. Amen. So let's stand and join in the final hymn.